Day 24 of the Diddy trial, and if you're the state, the best part of your day today may have come before the jury even came into the courtroom. I am Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. I'm a New York litigator who's practiced in this very courthouse in the Southern District of New York, and I'm here to break down legal perspectives as to how this trial is progressing, how well the state is doing, how well the defense is doing, and how fair the judge is being in handling this case. If that sort of thing is your deal, I urge you to please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notifications, because I'm providing coverage that no one else is even trying to provide. And when I say that they started off well, that was the highlight of the day. What I'm referring to is that the U.S. Attorney moved to have juror number 6 removed from the jury and have him replaced by an alternate. Now, the basis of this is an issue with respect to his residency. In order to qualify to serve on the jury, you have to be a resident of the state of New York. And when he was answering questions in his voir dire about that, he seemed to give very conflicting responses. In some places, he says that he's living with his girlfriend in New Jersey, and then he says it's with his daughter in New Jersey, and then he's with his girlfriend in the Bronx. And they speculate that perhaps he's really living in New Jersey, and that for purposes of maintaining his license for whatever field of occupation he's in, that he needs to maintain a New York residency, but he's not actually a New York resident, and that he was shading some of his responses to these questions because he has a very vested interest in making it and staying on the jury. And the judge ended up agreeing with the state and removing juror number 6. And the reason this is particularly significant is because juror number 6 is the lone black male on the jury. So we have no more black men on this jury. We have a couple of black women, and most of the jury composition seems to be older white people, older than I am. That's a couple of folks who look younger than me. But there's a lot of graybeards in this jury, both men and women. Not speculating about the women having gray beards, but you understand what I'm saying. And the defense was obviously very upset about this. They had raised, before the trial even started, they had issues that they felt that the state was purposefully trying to remove black people from the jury, and raise an issue like that to the judge. And the judge specifically said that he takes that charge very seriously, and said that he's found absolutely no indication that anything that the state has done during the jury selection process or with respect to trying to remove juror number 6 was in any way, shape, or form motivated by race. He certainly seems to be doing his best to try to curtail a potential appeal with his defiant findings of fact as to how the state has been conducting itself. So, because questions of fact will be far more difficult to be overturned on issues of appeal. And he even pointed to Xavier Donaldson, who was one of the members of the Diddy defense team, who complimented the jury process as working fairly to try and strengthen the legitimacy of his finding that this is not a race-based decision. And race certainly cannot be discounted as something that is likely a significant factor. Either you can look at it, and this is not exclusive, this is far from exclusive to this case. For a century now, attorneys have always felt that trying to load up the jury with a demographic that seems likely to be favorable to your particular side is an important part of the jury selection process. And the Supreme Court has banished anyone from being able to, and has outlawed the right of attorneys to try and remove people purely on the basis of their particular demographic. So this is not something that's new. It's as old as litigation itself. The question as far in this particular case, when you're talking about a rap star, and especially when there might be things that play into the cultural differences, you can see how race could, in theory, play a significant role, whether with respect to proper interactions between men and women, with respect to a personal affinity, that there's an expectation that a black man may likely have a more of an interest in the celebrity status of a Diddy than, let's say, a 70-year-old white woman. That's not like a crazy conclusion to reach. So it's not surprising that in this particular case, both parties would be very conscious about it, but at the same time intelligent enough to recognize that there has to be legitimacy to where you're coming from here. The last part I'm giving you here is speculation about pragmatically the practice rather than what's the theoretical legal perspective on these things. I'm just trying to be as real with you as possible. Now, the first witness who came up for the state today was Ananya Senkar. She's a U.S. paralegal who reviewed charts that were put together to ensure that these charts, which are supposed to show various text exchanges and communications, to try and simplify it for the jury. So she came in to vouch for the fact that the different things that were put into the charts were actually established by evidence that has been properly put before this court. So she would basically look through they put together a chart of different text messages, and each one she corroborates that this one ties into exhibit C-104, and that put together a timeline to try and put together exactly how, something that's much more comprehensible for the jury than what we've seen so far. The testimony itself, I haven't got a chance to look through the chart. The testimony itself was pretty boring. I mean, it sounded as if a lot of the stuff that's put into this, and it's only 33 pages, and although there are numerous charts, this is the chart that we were looking at, it's a lot of conversations that don't even seem to really prove very much. I was left wondering about the relevance of a lot of the different conversations, like conversations between D-Rock, one of Diddy's security guards, and Mia, who's a personal assistant who worked for Diddy, where she's on vacation and saying, yeah, she feels great, to finally get away. I'm like, I don't even know why they put this in here. This is part of their summary. I don't even understand it. I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff in there that's more relevant, but it just seemed like it wasn't really helping draw your attention to the factors which will lead a jury to conclude that they should convict. At least from that was my personal takeaway from it. I was very, very bored by it. On cross-examination, we got we had Tenny Garagos come up, and she was trying to establish that there's a lot of gaps, even in the middle of a conversation that's happening there. That the U.S. Attorney was specifically selecting certain messages that they felt would help their case, and leaving out other things that might hurt the context of what you're seeing in this synopsis, which I guess is certainly a fair point to make. I was talking to someone else about, like, what are you taking from this witness that might be helping the state? He said, I think it might be bolstering Mia, her testimony. It could be bolstering perhaps Cassie and help to define the credibility. And if he found that, it's possible that some jurors may find that as well. I personally didn't find it to be very compelling. But again, that's my personal takeaway as opposed to what could be taken from it, and clearly others have. And it's possible that other members of the jury have taken away some further corroboration to support the testimony that we've previously heard. The last witness we had, who's only been on the stand so far for 15 minutes, or 25 minutes of direct testimony, is an investigator from the U.S. Attorney's Office, who has her own charts. And these charts to me are a little bit more compelling in that these are the first chart we were looking at so far is supposed to be documenting the different meetings that that Diddy purportedly attended. And Diddy attending with Cassie, or I guess we're going to see, we haven't seen yet, we'll see with Jane and other, when they call meetings, they're referring to, it seems like so far from what we've seen, freak-offs and hotel nights. And this is where we have really the first real introduction of hardcore evidence, forensic evidence, to try and tie in the charge number 4 and charge number 5. That is the two charges, those are the smallest charges, which carry a maximum 10-year sentence for interstate transportation for the purposes of engaging in illegal sexual activity. Now, specifically they're referring to flying in various entertainers, porn stars from interstate for the purposes of engaging in commercial sex or legal sex, and that those charges, that as far as the forensic evidence, so what we have from this witness, she brought up that she showed us a text exchange between Diddy and a performer by the name of Jules. He was in Los Angeles, and that Diddy was flying him into New York City to perform at the London Hotel between December 11th, 2009 and December 13th of 2009. And they show the text exchange, which was kind of a little interesting there, where Jules seems as if he has a woman at home who doesn't like the idea of him going to New York and is suspicious that he's going there to engage in things involving Diddy and Cassie. So he said, I'm going to need you to send me a text, which is going to help me out here. And he said, call me so we can work this out. And Diddy sends a text after they have a brief phone call, and Diddy sends a text saying, yeah, I'm not going to be in New York, I'm going to be in Chicago, I've got a show to do, and Cassie's in London. So and then he's like, and then the next response from Jules is, okay, that worked. So when are we coming in here? He's like, okay, I'll have you come in here on Friday and I'll fly you out. And then the next exhibit that was shared with us was an email from Diddy to his manager, Tony Bias, telling him that he needed her to arrange a flight under the name Jules Theodore, which that's Jules' full name, and from LA on Friday from LA to New York, and also booking a hotel in New York called London. So maybe that's what Diddy meant when he said as far as Cassie's going to be in London. But it's their own little inside joke there. So yeah, that's what we had. Now with respect to the defense, one of the things that we should expect to see from the defense on cross is that Tenny was raising that she didn't like that that the state on direct keeps referring to this as a meeting. If you think about it, technically what we have here is arrangements that would enable him to fly in, but there's no one who knows that he did fly in. There's no testimony from Jules saying that he's flown in, so we don't know that he's flown in, or as far as that he flew in on that particular date. And that's probably where the defense is looking to attack on this. They're probably looking to attack and say, just because they discussed it and just because there was a flight arrangement and they booked a hotel, which we have evidence of a reservation being made as well, that doesn't mean that he actually came. And if Cassie cannot remember that particular incident, or if we don't have anyone testifying that he actually showed up there, in that case, in theory, they might be able to puncture a hole in that charge. Like I said, the 4th and 5th charges for interstate transportation for the purposes of prostitution. So that's where we're at so far. If you like this type of content, I urge you make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that bell so you get all notifications, and I will catch you later. Till then, Godspeed.